Get ready, get set, and hold on. You're in for one hell of a ride. Good morning. It's time for the Mouth of Matuszak show. And some of us have had a bit of a weekend because our tongues are still tied. Anyway, welcome to the show for Monday, August 25th, 2014. And I am your host, Paul-Gregory Matuszak. And got things queued up and ready to go for this morning. So let's get at it. Get the week started.
Mr. America, look what you've done.
Yeah, looking at the country is not what I intended. Gotta start to make a change before the never-ending story of a failed nation runs straight out of luck. Like $1 million Tyler Perry movies, you suck. All your little have-life, you're still selfish and want more voting in your self-interest now instead of the core principles that made this country both honest and true. Free to speak, worship, pursue of your happiness too. With all the money you fly, you gon' be needing a big freeze. Hate the size of the Fed like Jesus hated the fig tree. As the spending goes up, you...
Well, it must be a Monday because Powdered Zombies has crashed a couple times there. Sorry about that, folks. But it's all good. We're all ready for little things that happen like that. I mean, it's live radio, right? I mean, those of you listening to the podcast, you do understand this is a show you're listening to that's recorded live from 8 to 9 a.m. Central Time while I'm down here in this little speck of dust, insignificant little spot, small little space, so small it's kind of hard to actually believe that they call this place a state. Yes, I'm in this little place called Texas. But anyway, I am your host, Paul-Gregory Matuszak, and welcome to Monday morning, where our tied-up tongue and our crashing little musical interlude there will not stop us from bringing you a little bit of light into what's going on out there. Folks, for those of you who may not have heard, the week isn't starting out all that great for some people. Yes, some bad things have happened. There's some good news about it, though, but unfortunately there's bad news to go with it. And of course I'm speaking about the 6.1 magnitude earthquake that happened near San Francisco and the Napa Valley, rocking Northern California. Well, our prayers go out to the people out there. Although their government is kind of jacked up out in that state, that doesn't mean that people should have to needlessly suffer. So our prayers go out to them. At last count, there are 172 injuries and 0 deaths. But there's one boy, a 13-year-old boy, who got clocked in the head pretty hard. I guess a chimney collapsed on him, from what I'm hearing. And he's in critical condition, so let's give prayers for him and his family, as well as to all the people out there. There's going to be aftershocks continuing throughout the week after this earthquake. One of this magnitude tends to bring that, and there's been some structural damage, some major damage to some of the buildings in San Francisco. Even though there are many that have been built after the last couple of big quakes that have the special structures to help deal with the earthquakes and stuff. There are also many buildings that don't. So some of the aftershocks may bring some additional houses or other buildings down, and unfortunately that may mean that other people are going to be hurt. Now, of interest, from what I've heard, the majority of the injuries that have taken place were people who kind of cut their hands and feet up when they were scrambling at just after 3 a.m. California time, when they're getting up and getting the safety when the shocks hit. So they may be bruised really bad or cut really bad, but for the most part, you can probably guess that most of them are superficial in nature. If you can call any injury superficial, that they'll heal. That's more than likely what that means. They'll heal, and it hopefully will not take months and months for that to happen. So, whatever God or gods you pray to, pray for the protection of those people, and pray for the families of those who are injured, especially that small boy, not so small boy, that 13-year-old boy who got injured. So that's the starting bad news for the week. And I'm sorry to be starting off with a little bit of bad stuff, including that disrupted attempted playback of the Powdered Zombie song. But come back in tomorrow morning and be here right at the beginning of the show, and I'm sure I'll be able to get that working properly tomorrow. All kinds of things to talk about, of course. Of note, and this is something that comes from my last career, so to speak. For those who don't know, I'm a former U.S. Army soldier, and I spent the majority of my career, though not all of it, but the majority of my career in the intelligence field. And the last 3 times I was in Iraq. Well, no, let me restate that. My second time and my third time in Iraq, I was a counterterrorism targeting intelligence type dude. So I kind of went after some of the big bad guys. My 4th tour was spent as embedded with Iraqi units, training them up to kind of do that on their own. And, well, you see what's going on in Iraq now? Well, that goes right along with my assessment when I was leaving, and that was there was no way in heck they were ready and weren't going to be for a couple more years, 3 to 5 years. And that was going to be with intense training, which we're not giving them. But anyway, that's kind of my history, for those who don't know. My recent history. But it is history. Anyway, I do know a thing or two about the intelligence field and about terrorism and how that works. I wouldn't call myself one of the grandiose experts like many of those who pop up on the major news sources. I wouldn't want to toot my horn that loud, but I would say that I do know a thing or two, probably a thing or two more than your average person, and more than your average person who never had access to the more classified data, as it were. So, something that kind of it bothers me a little bit, but it shows some really good work out there, is that a British rap hip-hop artist has been named or as a prime suspect in James Foley's murder. And for those that don't know, James Foley was the journalist who was over in Syria who got snagged up and then later beheaded after ransom attempts failed. And right now they're looking at let's see if we can find his exact name for you folks, because it's he calls himself like Seg or Surge or something like that, some really dumb frickin' rap name, but he here it is, Al-Jinny. I guess his actual name is Abdel Mahad Abdel Bari. Al-Jinny is a stage name, and he's currently one of the suspects of that murder, that beheading of that journalist. So that's good news. We found out who did it. I mean, it's bad news that James had to be murdered, but the possible murderer himself has been tracked down. And one of the reasons why Al-Jinny is suspected is because he was highly influenced by the teachings of Anjan Chorde. Was not the greatest person to have as a role model, but kind of tracked him down and That's what I think may have been involved. So he's a hip-hop artist going from Britain, going for his street cred by murdering journalists who are just trying to report the truth of what's going on over there. Yeah, good street cred you got there, buddy. I hope you're hunted down like the rabid dog you are. And if you're innocent, I hope you just give yourself up kindly and, go through the process and dime out anybody you know who is bad and, play ball that way. And if you are guilty, well, I hope that whoever tracks you down makes the introductions to you or introduces you to your 72 virgins, horny virgins, who are, well, we're not talking about the beautiful young ladies. We're talking about the ones in hell who are going to rip your flesh off over eternity. Anyway, I know I'm getting graphic, folks, so I'm going to stop now. As you can tell, this kind of a subject is something that tends to get me going a little bit. I do not like terrorists. I find them as nothing better than cowards. They are too chicken to face their opponents, nose to nose, face to face. They won't do it through rhetoric because they know they're going to lose a logical argument, and they won't meet if they're going to go and cause violence. They won't do so in a matter of honor. They have no honor. They have to murder unarmed people because they won't go after those who are armed. At least the insurgents in Iraq would try sometimes to target the U.S. military and the Iraqi military, armed people. Now, under Zarqawi, they did a lot of bombings of innocent, unarmed people, which, again, coward. But once in a while, they would try something against the military when they're armed and fully armored and out and about. So at least they had the guts. They got their butts handed to them, but at least they had the guts. So my respect for Al-Jinny, if it was he who caused this, who committed this murder, my respect for him is in the negatives. So there you have it, folks. There's my take. But I don't want to dwell on nothing but bad things. But I do want to bring up another ball of wax that's going on here. Folks, racism is stupid. We are all one race. We are all one human race. We may have different pigmentations. We may have different cultural ancestries based on where our families came from. But when push comes to shove, we're all one race. And think about this. I mentioned Al-Jinny being chased down like a rabid dog he is. I actually like dogs. Most dogs aren't rabid. They aren't stupid. You get two dogs of different breeds, different cultural, ethnic backgrounds, so to speak, different colored coats, different bone structures around their faces, different hair lengths. Let's say you get a Great Dane and a Blue Heeler, and you raise them as puppies together. They're going to consider themselves to be brothers. They're going to pack up. They're not going to care that you have a fawn-colored or a brindle or a Boston or a Harlequin or whatever coat of Great Dane with the big floppy ears that have to be cropped up, or that you're short, shepherd-looking Australian cattle dog like a Blue Heeler. They're not, with a slightly longer hair. They're not going to care about that. What they're going to care is that they're part of the same pack. They're off, living as part of the same family. They're going to consider themselves brothers. or brother and sister, or what have you. And that's something that maybe humans can take a lesson from dogs, because they may be dogs, the Blue Heeler and the Great Dane, but they're the same race. They're canines. Well, humans, we don't even differ that much as far as our DNA and stuff goes from each other. So we're all one race. We're all one species. We're all the same. We're all the same. I mean, we're all the same just about everything. I mean, we have our individual souls, our individual spirits, but you see where I'm going from here, folks? This whole racism thing, I guess I just don't get it. Then again, I was born not too long after Martin Luther King was murdered, and I was kind of raised to see things a little bit differently. I mentioned with a big tongue-in-cheek thing on a past show that the Army turned me into a racist. I look at people based on their skin color, and then mention that the skin color I see is green. And if you're not a green skin, then I see you as slightly less than those who are. And I've actually had some people look at me and wonder what the hell I was talking about when I mentioned that, and I thought I explained it pretty well. Is I don't see natural skin color as some kind of a differentiating thing. And having been in the military, I have more respect for people who served than those who didn't. That doesn't mean that if you didn't serve, I don't respect you. Respect is earned. And if you earn my respect, you have my respect. It's just that simple. But I'm more likely to cast somebody a positive eye and give them a little bit more of a chance, a little bit more of a shake. In some cases, I give them a little bit less because I hold them to a higher standard. If they have signed that dotted line, raised their right hands, and said the oath, and have lived up to it, and if they've donned the camouflage, so to speak. So, that's my real, I'm tripping over my words. I really don't see race. I see what people have done. I judge people by their actions and by the code that they kind of live by. Judge them by the way they have integrity with their honor. I don't judge people by the color of their hair. Well, I've been known to, when you see somebody with weird metallic colored hair acting the fool, it just goes with the whole package, doesn't it? But I don't judge people by their natural hair color, by their natural skin color, by their natural eye color. I judge them by the content of their character and their actions, and in some cases their words, and their words and actions marry up. Well, today, folks, is Michael Brown's funeral in Ferguson, or near Ferguson, Missouri. And it's a shame that the young boy had to be shot. But am I pointing fingers at the police officer? No. Am I pointing fingers at Michael Brown? No. There's more and more evidence coming out, folks, and as that evidence continues to accumulate, the picture will become more and more clear as to what really, really happened, and where blame needs to be assigned, etc., etc. I'm willing to look at that police officer, and based on what I've seen so far, I'm kind of leaning more in his favor, but it has nothing to do with skin color, and it has everything to do with kind of the actions, the circumstances leading up to the incident. Now, if that particular officer had a history of racism and being a jackass and doing bad things, been suspended a few times for overreacting, etc., then maybe I wouldn't look so kindly towards him. But I have not seen any reports of that whatsoever. Not saying they aren't out there. I'm saying I have not seen them. Whereas I've heard a lot of negative things about Michael Brown, that he was into a lot of violent stuff and had a very low regard for females, referred them all as, the B word, and referred to them as gardening tools. That begins with an H. So, not too keen on the words and actions that I've heard and seen from his past. Does that mean he deserved to be shot? Probably not. If he did in fact rob the store and did in fact attack the police officer, then, actions have consequences, decisions have consequences, and he made a poor one. But we're not going to know until all the evidence is compiled. We have one side of the story from the police officer because he's still alive. We don't have Michael Brown's side of the story because he's not speaking, but they're compiling what they can, what they think it may be, based on what evidence they're able to pull. And right now, I have to say, it kind of edges a little bit more in the police officer's favor at the moment. We'll see what comes. I'm going to bring up a little bit more in Second Amendment news in a few moments, folks. But in the meantime, I tried to get this clip, and it really gave me some issues in pulling up. But good old Debbie Wasserman-Schultz, love Poodlehead, she has got to be one of my favorite people in the Democratic Party. And I do hope they keep reelecting her for one simple reason. She never ceases to provide entertainment. I can't believe, just like Sheila Jackson Lee, I can't believe people elected somebody